Hello everyone, this is your instructor in Business Laws and Regulations. Still, our topic for today is General Provisions of Partnership. In this video, I'm going to discuss the fourth part of General Provisions. Let's now proceed to the rules on division of profit and loss. Kapag nag-ooperate na yung partnership, it's either kikita yung partnership or malulugi. Now, paano hahatiin ng partners yung profit ng partnership at paano sila mag-share doon sa losses if ever nalugi yung partnership? There are different rules on how the partners divide the profit and loss of the partnership. First, if all are capitalist partners. Second, if aside from the capitalist partners, there is also an industrial partner or there are industrial partners. And third, if aside from capitalist partners, there is also a capitalist industrial partner or there are capitalist industrial partners. Unahin natin yung rules on division of profits and loss if all are capitalist partners. So, ano ba yung rules kung paano hahatiin yung profit or loss ng partnership kung lahat ng partners ay capitalist partners? When we say capitalist partners, ito yung mga partners na ang contribution nila ay money or property. So, if all are capitalist partners, the profits and losses shall be divided according to their agreement. Meaning to say, kung ano man ang napagkasunduan ng lahat ng capitalist partners, yon ang masusunod. This is because a partnership contract is a consensual contract and a partnership is based on agreement. Kaya ang masusunod ay yung agreement nila. Sir, paano namin malalaman yung agreement ng mga partners? Or yung agreement ng capitalist partners? Meron tayong tinatawag na profit or loss ratio. For example, there are three partners, namely X, Y, and Z. At yung profit or loss ratio ay 2 to 3 to 5. Para malaman yung share ng bawat partner sa profits and losses, i-add nyo lang yung 2, 3, and 5. So 2 plus 3 plus 5, that is equal to 10. Ngayon, yung sum na 10, yan yung magiging denominator. Therefore, ang share ni X sa profit or loss ay 2 over 10. Ang share ni Y sa profit or loss ay 3 over 10. At ang share ni Z sa profit or loss ay 5 over 10. Next, if only the sharing of the partners in the profits has been agreed upon, the share of each partner in the losses shall be in the same proportion as the share of each in the profits. Meaning to say, meron silang agreement kung paano hahatiin yung profits, pero wala silang agreement kung paano sila mag-share sa losses. There is a profit sharing agreement, but there is no loss sharing agreement. Kung meron silang agreement kung paano hatiin yung profits, pero wala silang agreement kung paano sila mag-share sa losses, hatiin nila yung losses the same way kung paano nila hinahati yung profits. Sir, what if wala silang agreement? Kahit profit sharing agreement man lang. In the absence of both, the share of each partner in the profits and losses shall be in proportion to his or her capital contribution. So kung walang agreement yung partners, kahit profit-sharing agreement man lang, mag-share sila sa losses based on their capital contribution. So let's have some examples. Example number 1, XYZ Enterprises is owned by partners X, Y, and Z with capital contributions of 25,000 pesos 35,000 pesos and 40,000 pesos respectively. Ang capital contribution ni X ay 25,000 pesos, ang capital contribution ni Y ay 35,000 pesos, at ang capital contribution ni Z ay 40,000 pesos. All of the partners here are capitalist partners since ang contribution nila ay pera. During the year, the partnership realized a net profit of 10,000 pesos. Requirement number 1, the partners X, Y, and Z agreed to divide profits in the ratio of 2 to 4 to 4 respectively. Compute the share of each partner in the profit. So ano na yung rule? Kapag may agreement, yon ang masusunod. Ang profit ratio ay 2 to 4 to 4. I-add lang natin yung 2, 4 at 4. 2 plus 4 plus 4, that is equal to 10. Therefore, ang share ni X sa 10,000 pesos ay 2 over 10. Ang share ni Y sa 10,000 pesos ay 4 over 10. At ang share ni Z sa 10,000 pesos ay 4 over 10. Dahil ang net profit ay 10,000 pesos, sa 10,000 pesos natin imumultiply yung fractions to get the share of each partner in the profit. So for X, 10,000 pesos times 2 over 10, that is equal to 2,000 pesos. For Y, 10,000 pesos times 4 over 10, that is equal to 4,000 pesos. For Z, 10,000 pesos times 4 over 10, that is equal to 4,000 pesos. Therefore, ang share ni X sa profit ay 2,000 pesos. Ang share ni Y sa profit ay 4,000 pesos. At ang share ni Z sa profit ay 4,000 pesos. Next, requirement number 2, the partners have no profit-sharing agreement. Compute the share of each partner in the profit. So, wala silang profit-sharing agreement. Wala silang pinag-usapan kung paano nila hahatiin yung profit. Dahil wala silang profit-sharing agreement, then magbe-base tayo sa capital contribution ng partners. Ang capital contribution ni X ay 25,000 pesos. Ang capital contribution ni Y ay 35,000 pesos at ang capital contribution ni Z ay 40,000 pesos. I-add lang natin yung capital contributions nila, 25,000 pesos plus 35,000 pesos plus 40,000 pesos, that is equal to 100,000 pesos. Yang 100,000, yan yung magiging denominator. So, ang share ni X sa 10,000 pesos ay 25,000 over 100,000. Ang share ni Y sa 10,000 pesos ay 35,000 over 100,000. At ang share ni Z sa 10,000 pesos ay 40,000 over 100,000. Dahil ang net profit ay 10,000 pesos, sa 10,000 pesos natin imumultiply yung fractions to get the share of each partner in the profit. So for X, 10,000 pesos times 25,000 over 100,000, that is equal to 2,500 pesos. For Y, 10,000 pesos times 35,000 over 100,000, that is equal to 3,500 pesos. For Z, 10,000 pesos times 40,000 over 100,000, that is equal to 4,000 pesos. Therefore, ang share ni X sa profit ay 2,500 pesos. Ang share ni Y sa profit ay 3,500 pesos. at ang share ni Z sa profit ay 4,000 pesos. Next, example number 2, XYZ Enterprises is owned by partners X, Y, and Z with capital contributions of 3,000 pesos, 3,000 pesos, and 4,000 pesos respectively. During the year, the partnership sustained a loss of 5,000 pesos. Requirement number 1, the partners X, Y, and Z agreed to a loss sharing ratio of 1 to 1 to 3 respectively. Compute the share of each partner in the loss. Dahil meron silang loss sharing agreement, yon ang ating susundin. Susundin natin yung kanilang loss sharing agreement. Ang loss sharing ratio ay 1 to 1 to 3. 1 plus 1 plus 3, that is equal to 5. Yang 5, yan ang magiging denominator. So, ang share ni X sa 5,000 pesos ay 1 over 5. Ang share ni Y sa 5,000 pesos ay 1 over 5 at ang share ni Z sa 5,000 pesos ay 3 over 5. Since ang loss ay 5,000 pesos, dyan natin imumultiply yung fractions to get the share of each partner in the loss. So for X, 5,000 pesos times 1 over 5, that is equal to 1,000 pesos. For Y, 5,000 pesos times 1 over 5, that is equal to 1,000 pesos. For Z, 5,000 pesos times 3 over 5, that is equal to 3,000 pesos. Therefore, ang share ni X sa loss ay 1,000 pesos. Ang share ni Y sa loss ay 1,000 pesos at ang share ni Z sa loss ay 3,000 pesos. Next, requirement number 2, the partners do not have any loss sharing agreement. However, the partners agreed to divide the profits in the ratio of 2 to 1 to 2. Compute the share of each partner in the loss. So, meron silang profit sharing agreement pero walang loss sharing agreement. In this case, hatiin nila yung loss according to their profit sharing agreement. Ang profit sharing ratio ay 2 to 1 to 2. 2 plus 1 plus 2, that is equal to 5. Yang 5, yan ay magiging denominator. So, ang share ni X sa 5,000 pesos ay 2 over 5. Ang share ni Y sa 5,000 pesos ay 1 over 5. At ang share ni Z sa 5,000 pesos ay 2 over 5. Since ang loss ay 5,000 pesos, dyan natin imumultiply yung fractions to get the share of each partner in the loss. So for X, 5,000 pesos times 2 over 5, that is equal to 2,000 pesos. For Y, 5,000 pesos times 1 over 5, that is equal to 1,000 pesos. For Z, 5,000 pesos times 2 over 5, that is equal to 2,000 pesos. Therefore, ang share ni X sa loss ay 2,000 pesos, ang share ni Y sa loss ay 1,000 pesos, at ang share ni Z sa loss ay 2,000 pesos. Next, requirement number 3, the partners do not have any profit and loss sharing agreement. Compute the share of each partner in the loss. So wala silang agreement kung paano nila hahatiin yung profit at loss. Therefore, hahatiin nila yung loss according to their capital contribution. Ang capital contribution ni X ay 3,000 pesos. Ang capital contribution ni Y ay 3,000 pesos at ang capital contribution ni Z ay 4,000 pesos. 3,000 pesos plus 3,000 pesos plus 4,000 pesos, that is equal to 10,000 pesos. Yang 10,000, yan ang magiging denominator. So, ang share ni X sa 5,000 pesos ay 3,000 over 10,000. Ang share ni Y sa 5,000 pesos ay 3,000 over 10,000. At ang share ni Z sa 5,000 pesos ay 4,000 over 10,000. Since ang loss ay 5,000 pesos, dyan natin imumultiply yung fractions to get the share of each partner in the loss. So for X, 5,000 pesos times 3,000 over 10,000, that is equal to 1,500 pesos. For Y, 5,000 pesos times 3,000 over 10,000, that is equal to 1,500 pesos. For Z, 5,000 pesos times 4,000 over 10,000, that is equal to 2,000 pesos. Therefore, ang share ni X sa loss ay 1,500 pesos. Ang share ni Y sa loss ay 1,500 pesos at ang share ni Z sa loss ay 2,000 pesos. Let's now proceed to the rules on division of profit and loss if aside from the capitalist partners, there is also an industrial partner or there are industrial partners. Kapag may profit ang partnership, hahatiin nila yung profit according to their agreement. In the absence of any agreement thereon, the industrial partner shall first receive a just and equitable share of the profits. And thereafter, each capitalist partner shall share in the profits in proportion to his or her capital contribution. So kung wala silang agreement, makaka-receive muna yung industrial partner ng just and equitable share at pagkatapos, hahatiin ng capitalist partners yung natitirang profit according to their capital contribution. So let's have an example. A, B, C, and D are partners in A, B, C, D company. A, B, and C are capitalist partners with contributions of 20,000 pesos, 30,000 pesos, and 50,000 pesos, respectively. D is an industrial partner. They have no profit-sharing agreement. A, B, C, D company earned 15,000 pesos during the year. The partners decided to give an equitable share of 3,000 pesos to D. So, ang profit ay 15,000 pesos, pero wala silang agreement kung paano nila hahatiin yung profit. In this case, ibibigay muna yung equitable share ni D sa profit. That is 3,000 pesos. So, ang natitira na lang ay 12,000 pesos. The remaining profit of 12,000 pesos shall be divided among the three capitalist partners according to their capital contribution. Ang capital contribution ni A ay 20,000 pesos. Ang capital contribution ni B ay 30,000 pesos. At ang capital contribution ni C ay 50,000 pesos. 20,000 pesos plus 30,000 pesos plus 50,000 pesos, that is equal to 100,000 pesos. So, para ma-compute yung share ni A sa profit, ang gagawin nyo, 12,000 pesos times 20,000 over 100,000. And that is equal to 2,400 pesos. Para ma-compute yung share ni B sa profit, 12,000 pesos times 30,000 over 100,000. And that is equal to 3,600 pesos. Para ma-compute yung share ni C sa profit, 12,000 pesos times 50,000 over 100,000. And that is equal to 6,000 pesos. What if merong loss? If there are losses, the industrial partner shall not share in the losses. The capitalist partners shall share in the losses as follows. First, according to their agreement. So kapag merong loss, yung loss sharing agreement ang masusunod. However, in the absence of any agreement thereon, each capitalist partner shall share in the losses in the same proportion as the share of each in the profits. Kung walang loss-sharing agreement, then hahatiin nila yung loss according to their profit-sharing agreement. In the absence of both, each capitalist partner shall share in the losses in proportion to his or her capital contribution. So kung wala talagang profit-sharing agreement at loss-sharing agreement, then hahatiin nila yung loss according to their capital contribution. Let's have an example. A, B, C, and D are partners in A, B, C, D company with A contributing 20,000 pesos, B 30,000 pesos, and C 50,000 pesos. D contributed his industry. During the year, ABCD company suffered a loss of 12,000 pesos. Assuming that the losses were agreed upon to be shared by A, B, and C in the ratio of 1 to 2 to 3, A's share in the loss is 2,000 pesos. B, 4,000 pesos, and C, 6,000 pesos. D will not share in the loss. So, assuming na meron silang loss-sharing agreement na 1 to 2 to 3, ang share ni A sa loss ay 2,000 pesos. Ang share ni B sa loss ay 4,000 pesos at ang share ni C sa loss ay 6,000 pesos. Paano na-compute yung 2,000 pesos? 1 plus 2 plus 3, that is equal to 6. 12,000 pesos times 1 over 6, that is equal to 2,000 pesos. Yung 4,000 pesos naman, that is 12,000 pesos times 2 over 6. Yung 6,000 pesos naman, that is 12,000 pesos times 3 over 6. D will not share in the losses because D is an industrial partner. If the partners do not have a loss-sharing agreement but have one as to profit in the ratio of 3 to 4 to 5 to 2, the loss will be shared by A, B, and C in the ratio of 3 to 4 to 5 or 3,000 pesos, 4,000 pesos, and 5,000 pesos respectively. D will not share in the loss being an industrial partner. So kung walang loss-sharing agreement pero may profit-sharing agreement, hahatiin yung loss according to the profit-sharing agreement. Ang share ni A sa loss ay 3,000 pesos. Ang share ni B sa loss ay 4,000 pesos. At ang share ni C sa loss ay 5,000 pesos. So, paano na-compute yung 3,000 pesos? 3 plus 4 plus 5, that is equal to 12. 12,000 pesos times 3 over 12, that is equal to 3,000 pesos. Yung 4,000 pesos naman, that is 12,000 pesos times 4 over 12. Yung 5,000 pesos naman, that is 12,000 pesos times 5 over 12. If the partners do not also have a profit-sharing agreement, A, B, and C will divide the loss according to their capital contribution. A's share in the loss is 2,400 pesos. B, 3,600 pesos. And C, 6,000 pesos. So, paano na-compute yung 2,400 pesos? 20,000 pesos plus 30,000 pesos plus 50,000 pesos, that is equal to 100,000 pesos. 12,000 pesos times 20,000 over 100,000, that is equal to 2,400 pesos. Yung 3,600 pesos naman, that is 12,000 pesos times 30,000 over 100,000. Yung 6,000 pesos naman, that is 12,000 pesos times 50,000 over 100,000. Let's now proceed to the rules on division of profit and loss. If aside from capitalist partners, there is also a capitalist industrial partner or there are capitalist industrial partners. Kapag may profit ang partnership, hahatiin nila yung profit according to their agreement. In the absence of any agreement thereon, profits shall be divided as follows. First, the capitalist industrial partner shall first receive a just and equitable share in the profits in his or her capacity as industrial partner. So kung wala silang agreement, makaka-receive muna yung capitalist industrial partner ng just and equitable share. Thereafter, each capitalist partner, including the capitalist industrial partner, in his or her capacity as capitalist partner, shall share in the profits in proportion to his or her capital contribution. Let's have an example. A, B, C, and D are partners in A, B, C, D enterprises. A, B, and C are capitalist partners with contributions of 10,000 pesos, 20,000 pesos, and 30,000 pesos respectively. D is a capitalist industrial partner with a capital contribution of 40,000 pesos. During the year, A, B, C, D enterprises realized a profit of 20,000 pesos. The partners decided to give an equitable share of 4,000 pesos to D in his or her capacity as an industrial partner. Assuming that the partners have no profit-sharing agreement, D will first receive an equitable share in the profit in his or her capacity as an industrial partner. So, ang natitira na lang sa profit ay 16,000 pesos. Yung natitirang 16,000 pesos, paghahatian yan ni A, B, C, and D according to their capital contribution. So, ang share ni A sa profit ay 1,600 pesos. Ang share ni B sa profit ay 3,200 pesos. Ang share ni C sa profit ay 4,800 pesos. At ang share ni D sa profit ay 6,400 pesos. So, paano na-compute yung 1,600 pesos? 10,000 pesos plus 20,000 pesos plus 30,000 pesos plus 40,000 pesos, that is equal to 100,000 pesos. 16,000 pesos times 10,000 over 100,000, that is equal to 1,600 pesos. Yung 3,200 pesos naman, that is 16,000 pesos times 20,000 over 100,000. Yung 4,800 pesos naman, that is 16,000 pesos times 30,000 over 100,000. At yung 6,400 pesos naman, that is 16,000 pesos times 40,000 over 100,000. What if merong loss? If there are losses, the losses shall be divided among the partners, including the capitalist industrial partner in his or her capacity as capitalist partner according to their agreement. If merong agreement, then yun yung masusunod. In the absence of any agreement thereon, losses shall be divided among the partners, including the capitalist industrial partner in his or her capacity as capitalist partner according to their capital contribution. So kung walang profit sharing agreement at loss sharing agreement, then hahatiin yung loss ng capitalist partners including the capitalist industrial partner according to their capital contribution. In both of the above cases, the capitalist industrial partner shall not share in the losses in his or her capacity as industrial partner. Let's have an example. A, B, C, and D are partners in A, B, C, D enterprises with capital contributions of 10,000 pesos, 20,000 pesos, 30,000 pesos, and 40,000 pesos, respectively. D is also an industrial partner, being the manager of the partnership. The partnership sustained a loss of 14,000 pesos during the year. Assuming that the partners agreed to share in the losses in the ratio of 2 to 3 to 5 to 4, A's share is 2,000 pesos, B 3,000 pesos, C 5,000 pesos, and D 4,000 pesos. So paano na-compute yung 2,000 pesos? 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 4, that is equal to 14. 14,000 pesos times 2 over 14, that is equal to 2,000 pesos. Yung 3,000 pesos naman, that is 14,000 pesos times 3 over 14. Yung 5,000 pesos naman, that is 14,000 pesos times 5 over 14. At yung 4,000 pesos naman, that is 14,000 pesos times 4 over 14. If the partners have no loss-sharing agreement, the loss will be divided according to their capital contribution. So, ang share ni A sa loss ay 1,400 pesos, ang share ni B sa loss ay 2,800 pesos, ang share ni C sa loss ay 4,200 pesos, at ang share ni D sa loss ay 5,600 pesos. So, paano na-compute yung 1,400 pesos? 10,000 pesos plus 20,000 pesos plus 30,000 pesos plus 40,000 pesos, that is equal to 100,000 pesos. 14,000 pesos times 10,000 over 100,000, that is equal to 1,400 pesos. Yung 2,800 pesos naman, that is 14,000 pesos times 20,000 over 100,000. Yung 4,200 pesos naman, that is 14,000 times 30,000 over 100,000. Yung 5,600 pesos naman, that is 14,000 pesos times 40,000 pesos over 100,000. In both cases, D shall not share in the loss in his or her capacity as industrial partner. Take note that any stipulation which excludes one or more partners from any share in the profits and losses is void. So if ever pinag-usapan ng partners na yung isang partner o higit pa ay hindi mag-share sa profits at losses, that is not valid. However, there is an exception. one which exempts an industrial partner from losses because the law provides that he shall not be liable therefore. So if ever pinag-usapan ng partners na yung industrial partner ay hindi mag-share sa losses, that is valid.